From the studios of WFAN and simulcast across the country via Fox Sports 1, this is Mike's on Francesa on the Fan on this Wednesday, the 21st day of January. We'll play the contest later on today. A lot to do on this day. And again, we get deeper into this whole thing with the balls with the Pats. The Pats could have beat them that day if they used a wiffle ball. They could have used a golf ball. They could have used, as one of the Colts said, a bar of soap. We understand we all know, which makes their doing this even more ridiculous. Anybody who game prepped or prepared a team like Belichick did knew that they had a huge advantage over the Colts in that game. I mean, some of us thought that all week, that they had a huge advantage over the Colts. The Colts didn't belong in that game. We understand that. But the fact now that what we're getting now leads to a level of cheating that I don't see how the league can't take some enormous step. If they would have had to change the entire ball bag. The referee stated that he checked those balls, and now 11 of the 12 balls were pounds under inflated, which means that they must have switched the entire ball bag. If you're the NFL, you cannot allow this to go on. Did it affect the game? Of course not. It didn't matter what ball they played with that day. All they do is hand something to the running back that they could run with. But it doesn't matter. The idea that you have rules and you have teams going to this level, they had to have the ball boy in on it. Now he's a team employee. He's getting paid, to work the game. He's a game day employee. He gets paid. You can't worry about the kid. He's a kid who's doing the ball boy. Most likely it could be a young guy, but I mean, it could be a grown man, but it could be also a teenager or a young man or a college student. Who knows how old the guy was? The point is, you're now talking about 11 of the 12 balls were significantly underinflated. The referee says, now the question, you notice that the NFL has not leaked out one thing. Were these the balls? Are we accusing them of one thing or the other? Are we accusing them of changing the balls, or are we accusing them of taking the ball bag after the referee approved the balls and then letting the air out of them? Which would be the more cunning thing, because then the marker on them. Would the Pats be bold enough not to have the mark on it? Probably not. What we're accusing them of now is taking the entire ball bag away from the kid after the league approves it and the referee stamps them, and then deflating the balls. The ones he put a mark on. Because we're not talking about sneaking a ball in. We're talking about changing the whole ball bag. So they docked it. Now, they would not be dumb enough to not have the mark on them because they'd be dead. Now they're going to say, oh, the balls. Listen, you want to say one ball lost there, you get away with it. You want to say 11 of the 12 with 2 pounds underinflated? I mean, come on. Well, they let the air out of the balls. You want to talk about... One source described the league as distraught over this information. Distraught. This is not what the NFL needed. Going to a Super Bowl that was a very good one, 2 top teams, the team that has been the beacon of the AFC and has always had clouds around it, as we know, and then the team going for back-to-back championships coming off a miracle victory. You had yourself set up a tremendous ball game. But the NFL has had to deal with off-the-field problems and its image all year. Roger Goodell has had to deal with cover-ups. He's had to deal with the idea that he lied, the idea that he didn't do his job, the idea that he either was so insensitive to domestic violence or inept or just lied about what happened. The NFL has been trying to climb out from under that all year. They have had other issues with players. They have had legal problems. They have had all kinds of issues. And on top of that, they need to go to their game and have this issue raised in a 45-7 rout that the team that is always on the other side of this is now at it again. I mean, they have to be nuts. This is all you're going to hear about going to this game. You think Belichick's not going to hear about this when he goes to the media day at the Super Bowl and has thousands of reporters there asking him questions? You don't think there's going to be questions asked to Belichick in front of the cameras about this stuff? You don't think people are going to go in there who have nothing to do with football and aren't afraid of him and don't care that he's going to cut him out in the future, who are going to go stand in front of him and ask him these questions? This is a nightmare for the NFL. And just deal from it. Forget the idea that it didn't impact the game. We know it didn't. Like I said, they're going to play with a bar of soap. That's not the point. The point is now you're looking at a tremendous amount of dishonesty. They didn't sneak a ball in. They changed the whole bag. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Then you have on top of this that Brad Johnson admits that before the Super Bowl, he found the balls so slick and so hard to deal with that I paid guys to get the balls right. And they took care of the balls for me. I paid them to doctor the balls. How much did you pay him? I paid him $7,500, and they took care of the balls. Why he admits this now, I have no idea. So the NFL now reporting that now it's being reported that 11 of the 12 balls were significantly underinflated for the game. This is after, remember, that in case you aren't aware of the process, each team submits the balls they want used to the referee. The referee, 2 hours and 15 minutes before the game, sits down. He comes up with 12 balls for the Colts. He stamps them. He brands them. He gives them. He puts them in their ball bag. That's their 12 balls, not kicking balls, for the game to be used by the quarterback. He then does the same thing for the Patriots. Different bag, different sideline, and gives the balls then to the ball boy. They are not allowed to be touched by anybody. They are game ready. They are approved. They are stamped by the referee. That's his job. They then took that bag and did their dirty work. Because the referee has stated that he checked all those balls and they were not underinflated. Wow. I don't know what the NFL. I don't know how they get out from under this one, because they have a problem on their hands. Because if they don't reprimand Bill Belichick now, it's going to look like Goodell is sweeping another story under the mat. And remember, this is the same guy who never let anybody see the tapes last time. Oh, the tapes were destroyed. Well, what about the public seeing the tapes? No, the tapes were destroyed. We destroyed the tapes. Well, what are you going to do this time? How are you going to sweep this under the carpet and not make it look like a complete cover-up going to the game? And the people who have been after the NFL all year are going to be there front and center when the commissioner has his press conference, and you're not going to be able to stop them from asking them questions. No matter how much you try and have Greg Aiello or whoever only call on the right people, they're going to be in the room. And the same thing for Belichick, who has to meet the media Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He has to stand in front of a podium and the public media Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. How are they going to deal with that? They're not. They have got to have this rectified and have to have this off their plate before the teams take off for Arizona. This is a colossal nightmare for Goodell and the NFL and for Kraft. And Kraft has gone to the bat for Belichick before and tried to get leniency from the commissioner. Now he's got to go back again. And this just put an enormous damper on the game and on the Patriots. There's no way around it. Listen, again, don't call me and tell me, oh, they would have beat him anyway. We all know that. That's not the issue here. Think about the mindset that you're cheating in a game where you don't have to cheat. Cheating is cheating, but you got to cheat in a game where you're going to win anyway? Everyone's going to wait and see. The NFL is expected to wrap this up. Listen, they have to. Forget what the NFL is saying. The NFL has to have this wrapped up before the Patriots get on a plane for Arizona. They have to. They cannot have him land and give a public press conference because the media, every question is going to be about this. This cannot be it's still going to be an issue. He's still going to have to answer the question. See, Belichick's going to get haunted with this next week. There's no way around it. He can sit there and say, no comment, no comment, no comment. What are you going to do? You're going to hide him, or are you going to have him stand there for an hour every day at the Super Bowl and say no comment? What's he going to say? On to Seattle? On to Seattle? At the Super Bowl? On to Seattle? On to Seattle? You can do that in your building, regular season, and everyone will think it's funny. You cannot do that in front of thousands of media people at the Super Bowl. It doesn't work. There you have to expound and you have to answer the questions. That's why the media is set up. That's why there's media days. He has got to face the music there, and he will face it from a lot of media that will go there just to ask him the tough question, who don't care about the game, who aren't there for the game, who will go just to ask Goodell the question on Friday, will go there just to ask Belichick the question. And the NFL knows that. And Greg Aiello knows that, and the NFL people are way smart enough to understand this. They have got to have this rectified, and the commissioner on television discussing this and probably holding a press conference and answering questions about how he meted out justice for this game. And if he just slaps him on the wrist, it's not going to go away next week now. And anything the Pats ever did, the litany, is going to be discussed next week. Because maybe enough time had passed that they were going to be able to go there, and people weren't going to dredge up the Rams, or weren't going to dredge up what went on. And now they are. And somebody's going to go drag Mike Martz out. And he's going to say, Mike, let's go through what happened. Tell me your side of the story. And they're going to get an earful. Because those guys have been dying to tell that story forever. I've sat with Marshall Faulk when he said, one of these days, I'm going to unload and tell everybody what I really think about that situation. Those guys have bitten their tongue about that game for a long time. It's all going to come streaming out now because of some ridiculous idea that they needed to take the air out of football. It is not the NFL's year. Goodell must be sitting up in his tower saying, man, this is not my year. Because it is in his lap again. Back after this. For that, so we have 4 trips to give away. We have 3 days to give them away. We will do that. Obviously systematically starting today. 3 o'clock contest as we begin the day today. So otherwise in football, not that much going on. This is, this is the story. This is, a big deal. So we'll take it from there. And you know what? Frankly, I thought this would go away yesterday. Now with this, I think the NFL is really in a bad way because how they now adjudicate this issue, how they handle, and whether they try to really, if they sweep it under the mat as they get ready to go to Arizona, everyone will throw it in their face all week next week. So that really is an issue for Goodell and for the Pats right now. It really is a big one. Richard in Jersey, what's up, Richard?
Hi, Mike. Great show. Has anybody brought up the possibility that they measured these footballs at different temperatures when it's in the...
Not 2 pounds. Listen, these guys know what they're doing. They handle footballs all the time. They know, the referee knows exactly where he's handling footballs, how he's handling footballs. Not 2 pounds. Do you know how much 2 pounds of pressure is?
Well, my tires changed 4 pounds.
Well, listen. These guys these guys understand what's going on. Okay, they knew the ball was doctored. They knew the ball was deflated the first time they handled it on the sideline. So they knew there was a difference in the ball. The player did. The equipment man did. Pagano did. So I mean, listen. Don't give me your tires. It's not going to work. Okay, Mark in Middletown. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
What's happening?
Kraft kind of got Belichick off the hot seat for Spygate.
He did.
Isn't it time
the
owners put Kraft's feet to the fire for allowing this to continue?
Well, see, that's the thing here. As they go to the Super Bowl, I'm sure there's going to be some owners who are going to be... Now, I mean, they could come up with something that they might think is... See, I'm sure the first thing they're trying to do is figure out a way not to harm the Super Bowl and at the same time penalize them. Do we give a draft pick to the Colts? One of their draft picks? Do we suspend them? See, I'm sure they're having a discussion. All right, can we suspend him next year and get away with it? The answer is they can't. They can't. Suspending him next year 2 games or something, if they got him dead to right, which it looks like everyone's saying they do, if they got him dead to right, suspending him 2 games next year is not going to work. Okay, so it's going to because they're going to say, oh, sure, right before the Super Bowl, don't take action in the Super Bowl. And listen, the Colts aren't going to scream. The best thing that happened to the NFL on this is that this wasn't a 1-point game, because then if it was, the Colts would be screaming like crazy. Now the Colts aren't going to scream because they'd be embarrassed to scream when they got beat up this way. We know that. They said the right things. They could have beat us with a bar of soap. We understand that. That's not the point. The point is the rules were broken, and it looks like they weren't broken. It looks like they were trampled. So how did they find out? It would seem to me the only way they found out that 11 of the 12 balls were doctored was they shook down the ball boy and he gave everybody up because he was scared to death, is what I would probably think happened. Beth in Connecticut, what's up, Beth?
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
What's happening?
I am so baffled by this. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes.
but from what I understand, it's like they have 12 balls for the Patriots. They had 12 balls for the Colts.
Correct.
And for what I would think would be a more accurate decision on this, why would they? Do you know if they took the 12 balls from the Colts too and compared them to the 12 balls from the Pats?
Well, the 12 balls were approved. Yeah, totally, absolutely. They have the balls the Pats used to, Colts used in the game too. Absolutely,
Okay,
and they
so
were
they
approved.
examined it
Listen, they knew there was something wrong the first ball they touched. As soon as the equipment man got the ball off the interception, he went right to the head coach with the ball. He said, this ball's doctored. He said it right to him. He went right to Pagano. What happened is the guy who made the interception gave it to the equipment man. He wanted to log the ball. He wanted to keep it. And all of a sudden, he gave it to Pagano and said, this ball's been doctored. So they knew right away, and Pagano called up to his GM and said, we got a suspicious ball on the sideline.
Okay, so I understand all that, but
if you're thinking
that they did not go the other way either, though. They did not check those balls. Those 12 balls were not checked at all.
Wait a second. We're not dealing with there was no evidence that the Colts balls had anything wrong with them. No one's saying there was.
I understand
They're
that.
separate balls. What do you think? Wait, do you think the ball 11 of the 12 balls leaked air?
I'm not saying that,
What are you saying then?
The
balls were inspected by all 24 balls were inspected by the referee before the game.
Okay.
And he approved them all. And he put them in a bag. And he knew exactly the pound pressure of each one. And then 11 of the 12 were deflated.
Okay.
So there's no, you want to come up with the tooth fairy, come up with the tooth fairy. But the bottom line is, clearly, they did something to the balls. The Pat balls, the Colt balls, there's no issue. Nobody did anything to the Colt balls. They were left alone. The referee says, I inspected all 24 balls. I stamped all 24 balls. They were all perfect. Ralph in East Rockaway. What's up, Ralph?
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
Good.
Listen, to me, I'm a Dallas fan, not a Jets fan or anything like that. To me, this guy's just a loser, just from the first time, Belichick. But what I want to know is, how do you think this affects his Hall of Fame eligibility?
They get that right now. I want to know how it's going to affect a week from Sunday.
Yeah, right.
That's what I want to know. What do you do to him now? Let's say right now, they have him dead to right, 11 of the 12 balls. What does the NFL do? And what will the public stand for that the NFL does? Take away a draft pick and let him coach the game? Not let him coach the game? I mean, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, how do you deal with it? So the NFL knows what now. I mean, the NFL knows everything that went on already. The question they're dealing with is, how do we deal with this? Those are what the discussions are going on. And I'm sure they're weighing in with other guys. I'm sure there's some guys who want to, remember, before this even happened, You had Don Shula up in arms. Do you think you need Don Shula at the Super Bowl? Basically destroying Bill Belichick again, where he did last week, calling him Belichick before this game was even played? I mean, do you think, what about you got a guy like him who is, one of the Mount Rushmore figures of the league, killing Belichick on Super Bowl week? Not good for the league, especially with the league having gone through everything it went through this year. Its image took an incredible hit. And now they're going to the Super Bowl with another incredible hit on their hands. Ray in Rhode Island, what's up, Ray?
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Yeah, I will tell you one thing. I know on Monday Tom was laughing. I guarantee he's not laughing now.
My point is this, Mike. I just want to see if you really agree with it. This thing has stemmed from the Baltimore game because every quarterback, and you could ask Troy when he's on and Phil Sims when he's on, every quarterback, as you know, likes the ball a certain way, and the league gives them a little leeway on these balls because this quarterback likes it.
After the ball goes to the referee, they're not allowed to be touched.
You're right about that.
They're not allowed to be touched.
Now, here's my thing. When Brady is accused...
Air pressure is not an issue. That's standard. It's not an issue.
Right. But when Brady went to the press conference after the Baltimore game, and they talked about the unbalanced line in the ineligible receiver, he mocked Baltimore.
Yes, he did.
And said, read the rule book.
Right. Know the rules. Don't whine.
Right. Pagano
and then on Monday,
under Harbaugh.
Yep.
And Harbaugh was still ticked. So what does Harbaugh do? Harbaugh knows that Brady likes the ball.
Yeah, but Harbaugh. But my understanding is no.
They swooped in after the game, though, Mike, like they knew what they were doing before it even happened.
That's not the story I heard. They didn't know. They didn't know until the guy who intercepted the ball came off the field with the ball, handed it to the equipment man, and it was the equipment man that realized there was something wrong with the ball. The players in the game didn't even notice it on defense. Remember, they don't handle that ball. That's the Pats ball. They only handle it if they get possession of it. They didn't realize it. The equipment manager said, wait a second. There's something wrong with this ball. And he went to Pagano and told him. And Pagano called up Gregson in the press box. Gregson went to the NFL. Chris joins us. What's up, Chris?
Hey, I got a question, a two-part question.
Good.
2 weeks ago, prior to Week 11, they played the Colts, and it was 2 interceptions. And as I understand it, they complained that the balls were under-deflated then. And my question would be, if they knew back then proceeding to go into this game, and why didn't it come up in the
I didn't hear that. I never heard that they thought the balls were underinflated then.
And then the second part,
never heard that once. Never heard that.
Maybe I was misinformed.
I never heard that, Chris. You might be right, but I never heard that story.
And the second question I have, just like the kickers' ball, nobody's allowed to touch them, not even the kickers, until they come out on the field.
Correct.
If the refs, in the same token, if the ball is just like the quarterbacks want them, and they're not like touching, why aren't they put in the cage until the ball is ready to be placed on the field?
They're given to the ball boy. Once the referee takes him, he gives him to the ball boy. The ball boy is not allowed to let anybody touch that bag till the game starts.
Is the ball boy? Who is the ball boy working for? Is it?
In the playoff game, usually regular season, it's the home team. Playoffs, I don't know if they use NFL personnel or they use stadium personnel. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who they use. Okay, I'm not sure. All right, so I can't tell you one way or the other whether it's stadium personnel or NFL personnel. I don't know during the playoffs who they use. Regular season, they use stadium personnel. I don't know if they use stadium personnel in the postseason or not. Tom in Fork River, what's up, Tom?
Hey, good morning. Good afternoon, Mike. How
What's
you doing
happening?
today?
What's up?
Yeah, Mike, I like all the attention you're putting onto this. Listen, Belichick to me, he's shady. He's shady now. The Rams Super Bowl and now this, and especially like the last caller brought up Brady mocking the Ravens and saying learn the rule book.
Well, listen, Brady laughed at the Pats, laughed at the Ravens about this, and then on Monday on his radio show, he made fun of this situation. He made a joke out of it about the balls. Now I would go back and ask Tom if he's still joking about it now that they are accusing them of doctoring 11 of the 12 balls. Because now it's not a joke. Now they have serious serious repercussions. The one on Monday was hold, or was this Monday? No, the quote he made that he liked the balls, but what about Monday? Wasn't he on there giggling about it? I was told that he was on the radio saying it was not a big deal, laughing about it on last Monday. That quip about him saying he liked deflated balls was in 2011, but that he was on the show Monday, and he and Gronkowski both made a joke about it on Monday. That's my understanding. So they both made a joke about it on Monday. Scott, nice to be. What's up, Scott?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
What's happening?
All right, I got a question and then my opinion about the situation. My question is, are there any parameters that the NFL has in imposing a penalty? And if there are not,
my understanding,
why not make the ultimate penalty in letting Belichick not coach this Super Bowl?
Well, I think that's something that obviously would be mentioned. I don't know. It's obviously a very bold move. Clearly a very bold move. Number one. Number two, there's two wrongs here. If you're going to penalize draft picks, you would probably give the draft picks to the Colts since they're the injured party, number one. So maybe you assign a draft pick to the Colts from the Pats. The other thing is, you brought up the big one, and that is, do you reprimand the coaching staff and Bill Belichick before the Super Bowl?
Exactly.
That would be obviously a very big deal, and if he doesn't, it's going to make it a very, very difficult week. Because I'm telling you, that week is set up where I've done the Super Bowl. Remember, I was there when no one was there. I was there when we were the only show there, and I've lived through every part of it. Any scandal, any hint of scandal is multiplied by 1,000. There is thousands of media there. They are all walks of life. They are not just sports people. They are not just Patriot people. They're not just football people. And they look to turn anything into an enormous story. And this now will follow Belichick every minute he is at the podium in Arizona. He will not even be able to answer a question about the game for the first 3 days. Now, he can sit there, and you can tell me he can sit there and stonewall it. The NFL wants him at a 90-minute press conference up there saying, on to Seattle, on to Seattle, on to Seattle. Not going to work. Not going to work in that setting. They don't want that either. So they can all laugh about on to Cincinnati, which you can do, okay? But that was about his team's performance. That was not about anything else. They're going to want answers. And they're also going to want answers from Goodell. So the NFL now is in a complete virtual nightmare because how they handle this, and if they get caught sweeping aside another story where they've been accused of sweeping aside so many, they sweep this one under the mat as they go to the Super Bowl, it's going to be a very long week for them. As it is right now, it's going to be a very long week for them. The only way it isn't is if they take serious, harsh action before they leave for Arizona. Or unless you prove that this story doesn't have any legs. Now, this story went from 1 ball to now 11 balls with quotes that the league is distraught over what is going on. League should be distraught. They're in a nightmare right now. Here's Joey. We're back. Contest coming up at 3. The story of the day, well, about the Pats, obviously. Tom in New Haven. What's up, Tom?
Hey, Mike. 2 things I wanted to just, put out there because a lot of people are trying to, rationalize with the weather and everything else and all this other mess. ESPN said about an hour and a half ago 2 things. One, that there was an issue in the first Patriots-Colts game from Week 11.
I never heard one word of that. I never heard one word of it in the league. I never heard one word of it in the week leading up to the game. So if it wasn't an issue then, I don't want to hear about it after the fact.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to point out was apparently they retested all 24 balls at halftime, and only the Patriots balls were off, not the Colts. So that was the other thing that Mortensen reported about an hour ago.
Well, I'm sure they did. And listen, I think they got him. I haven't spoken to anybody from the NFL, but I think they got him. The question is, what are they going to do with him? From everything I can just read, haven't done this a long time, reading between the lines, sounds like they know what happened. The question is, what are they going to do? I think they got him. I mean, there's no question they did it. The question is, what are they going to do with him? Jim in Paramus, what's up, Jimmy?
Hey, Mike, I'm glad you touched on Tom Brady. He's pretty much escaped any criticism of any of this.
But I don't want to include him to a level only because I don't know what he is guilty of.
He handles the ball more than anybody. He knew exactly what was going on.
Oh no, he is definitely throwing a doctored ball. But I can't say that any other quarterback wouldn't do the same thing.
Okay, Mike, but he did not answer the question on that interview on Monday. He laughed it off and tried to make it like this is a ridiculous thing. I'm not even going to go there.
Right. Well, what else would he do in public?
That's true, but I think he escaped Spygate, untouched.
Listen, your
there's
point.
There's been a rumor that they have their own radio channel with Belichick communicating to him.
There's no question. There's no question he has escaped scrutiny because of his image and everything else, and he and Belichick have been together the whole time. So he could have said he didn't want to be part of any of this stuff that has gone on, and there's been a lot of stuff that has gone on. So you're right.
Like,
yes.
Isn't it more likely that actually the quarterback was behind this than the coach, being that this is his area of play?
You're trying to tell me the coach didn't know about it?
It's possible.
No, I don't think you do this stuff without the coaches say. Yeah, listen.
I think it's impossible that Brady didn't know about it.
Listen, all I'm telling you is you don't do this without the coaches. You don't do anything on a sideline without the head coach's approval.
Mike, I think Brady has gotten.
I'm not saying. Listen, I am not. You made your point about Brady, but don't try to tell me that Belichick didn't know about it because that one I'm not buying. Okay. I've been around enough NFL teams. Guys don't do anything without the head coach knowing about it. The head coach knows about everything. Okay, he's in charge. Nothing's done without his approval, especially in someone as powerful as Belichick. Victor in Los Angeles. What's up, Victor?
Hey, Mike. Just first off, I'm a Steelers fan.
Yes.
But I think this whole scandal is ruining the NFL. First off, Belichick, all the scandals from before, Spygate, and then now this. I was just wondering, would they be able to do something like they did to USC when the whole Reggie Bush situation happened where they suspended the team from playing any bowl games? So, like, next year, maybe suspend the Patriots from making it to the postseason.
They don't work that way in the NFL. That kind of thing is not done in the NFL. You do not make a team ineligible for a season starts. That doesn't work. You can suspend players. You can suspend coaches. You can't tell a team they can't perform. That doesn't work. No, they don't do that in the pros. That won't work. But you could suspend anybody. You could suspend players. You could take away. Listen, you want to hurt the Pats? Take away their draft picks. That's how you hurt them. They don't get any players. I mean, that's how you hurt them. You take away players. Now, I did not realize that one person gave me a new piece of information that they retested the balls at halftime. I was not aware that they retested them at halftime. If that is accurate, I have not seen that. You guys got that in print anywhere that they retested the balls at halftime? Because I have not heard that before. Rob in Tom's River, what's up, Rob?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
What's happening?
I don't know if anybody asked this question yet, but did the referee who stops the ball, did he detect anything that was wrong?
Not until halftime. No, not until halftime. He was brought into it at halftime.
And there's no decision that they can make at that time to delay the game or do anything like that?
Well, I gather there's some talk now that they did do something at halftime. They were involved with some of the balls at halftime. Is my understanding.
Okay, but no changes were made the second
I don't know. I don't know that yet. I can't answer that. I don't know that yet. I don't know what happened during the game. I don't know what happened at the moment of detection. I can't tell you. Brian in Palm Beach, what's up, Brian?
Hey, Mike. Just a point following that up. What that guy just said there. I believe at the beginning of the second half there was a pretty lengthy pause in the game, and everybody, the announcers, were wondering what was going on, and they couldn't really figure it out. They went to Mike Carey, and I guess he described it as, because the referees were switching balls in and out of the game, and he described it as that a kicking ball got mixed up.
Right, so they were definitely they were doing extra work with the balls. There's no question.
Right,
after the Colts had brought it to their attention. What I'm saying is I don't know that they basically checked all. Someone just said a minute ago that it was reported that they rechecked all 24 balls at halftime. I don't know that was the case.
That could be possible.
I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that was the case, though. I'm not saying that I know that to be fact. I had not heard that yet. And I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying I did not hear that part yet, that they had maybe checked all 24 balls at halftime. Mike in Manalapan, what's up, Mike?
Hello?
Yes, Mike.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, what's up?
A quick question, a quick scenario regarding the Belichick incident. First off, the bar was set by the Goodell and the NFL when they suspended Sean Payton for a whole year. First-time offense, bounty gate, okay? This is Belichick's second time, okay? So,
right. And Sean Payton got a year. You know why he got a year?
Yeah, because it was a safety issue with the players.
Because he lied to the commissioner.
Right.
Okay. Originally, when he came to New York, he completely lied to the commissioner, and that's why he got a year.
Let me ask you a question here. I'm going to give you a scenario, okay? Mm-hmm. If NFL said, Bill, we have you dead to rights, you either have to be suspended for the Super Bowl or suspended for the whole year. Which one would he choose?
I mean, you're asking me to pick a hypothetical.
Yeah.
I would. I would not.
Pick the year.
I don't know what he would do. I don't know. It's hard not to do the Super Bowl, but you see, here's the thing: the NFL. That's a bad. The NFL should not give the culprit any options. They should give him a penalty. They should deem the penalty, and whatever the penalty is, he gets it. He doesn't get to choose from column A or column B. He gets the penalty. All right. This is from Mike Florio. With 11 of the 12 balls used by the Patriots in Sunday's game reportedly underinflated by 2 pounds per square inch, several questions remain, and here are the answers to a couple of them. First, per league source, the NFL has reviewed the entire process and determined that the balls were properly checked by the officials before the game, which means Walt Anderson did do his job and stamp, which he's already said he did. So we knew that. Second, as to the fact that the officials didn't notice anything wrong with the balls while handling them, the source explains that a pressure difference would not be that obvious unless you were looking for it. The equipment man is the one who did find it. That's basically it. Plenty of other questions remain, but it appears the NFL has determined that, one, the balls were properly inspected before the game, and that there's no reason that they should have noticed anything unusual by handling them, especially in the rain. But we have further information, obviously, that on this one, that basically 11 to 12 balls were inflated significantly below NFL requirements. They were inflated 2 pounds per square inch below what's required. Okay? Now, the balls were properly inspected and approved by Walt Anderson 2 hours and 15 minutes before the game by rule, and they were returned to each team. At that point, no ball is allowed to be in any way touched or used or anything else. Troy Vincent said that the investigation will be concluded in 2 to 3 days. It's got to be included before they go to Arizona. All right. Now, there are reports that safety Mike Adams, who intercepted Brady twice during the Colt regular season game, said that he thought the balls were unusual and told that to the equipment man. We don't have that as a confirmation. There are reports of that. Okay? Those sources are claiming that the Colts did bring it to the league's attention after their regular season game. One source said in the league that the league is distraught after their initial investigation, that the league would say that their feelings are that they are distraught with what they found out. Mike in Queens, what's up, Mike?
Yes, Mike?
Yes.
How do we know the Baltimore-New England game, the ball wasn't done?
We don't know that, Mike.
That was a close game.
We don't know that, though. So we can't go back and do something where it's already done. And we don't know that. We know that from this game. We don't know anything from that game.
The commissioner ought to put his foot down, forfeit. Something with a forfeit. They ought to be...
They won't forfeit the Colt game, nor should they. Listen, there are ways to put your foot down. There are plenty of ways to put your foot down. You can go as far as penalizing them a first-round draft pick, or you could make it that their coach doesn't coach the Super Bowl. I mean, you could.
Got to be a strong.
Well, that would be a reprimand. That's a serious reprimand. I mean, you want to put your foot down, let's put your foot down. Are they going to go there? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I'll tell you this. Any way you slice it, unless the league can somehow completely vindicate the Pats now, Belichick is going to be in for some week down there. Because there's no way to protect him in that scenario. In that setting, you cannot protect somebody from a hot story. It's impossible. He is in front of the media Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every day. And for a numerous amount of time and in front of a very large group of people. 2 o'clock, we'll do the contest at 3. Here's Joey.
Don't go away. More from the Mike Francesa Show.
All right, 2:06 on this Wednesday program. The contest, 3 o'clock today. We have 4 more trips to give away. The whole first hour was about this, this ridiculous ball thing, but it's really not about the balls themselves or it's about just breaking another rule. That's what it's about and how to deal with it. Tom and Ramsey, what's up, Tom?
How you doing? Do you think every team does this? And I also want to know, how do the refs not feel the ball after every play and realize?
Well, I mean, they do handle the ball, but you know what? They're handling it quickly, and, it's wet, and, they're handling multiple different ones. And most people feel that quickly to the detection without inspection, you might not notice it. So I can't get on the refs for that. I don't know that it should be noticeable to the touch or not, but the point is, it's actually crazy to be talking about, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, you got rules, and you got to abide by them. Daniel in Poughkeepsie, what's up, Daniel? What's up, Daniel?
Hey, how's it going, Mike? Huge fan.
Thank you. What's up?
Okay, basically, my point is this.
Go ahead.
How does Belichick have the unmitigated gall to just do this, cheating? The second time being caught, it's just, to me, it's unbelievable. And it's a good point you said about how they lost so terribly. But to me, it's the principle,
I would say yes. Bill in Cape Canaveral. What's up, Bill?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good. What's happening?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
The investigation that they did originally in Spygate came back to an environment created by Kraft and Belichick. Okay.
Not Kraft.
Why not? Why not the owner? Isn't he?
He was never. As far as I know, he was never considered to be part of that whole thing.
I agree with you, but doesn't the owner have complete control and responsibility of what his team does?
No, but he doesn't. He didn't know. You're saying he knew and he condoned it. I don't think he knew about it.
Okay.
I don't think it was ever proved that Kraft knew about it.
Okay. So another question I have for you is that Brady obviously knew that he had a ball that was tampered with.
Completely.
He's been playing football since he's a kid.
No question.
Right? No question about that. So can the NFL suspend Brady from the Super Bowl?
No, they wouldn't. They would suspend the coach. The coach is in charge. They would not suspend. The guy who would be left with the responsibility in this issue is the head coach. Okay. That's it. You're not going to suspend the player. You're going to suspend the head coach.
Okay,
now, I don't know that they will. You're taking a very drastic step, obviously, to suspend a very prominent head coach for a Super Bowl game. It would be scandalous. It would be an amazing thing. It would be unheard of if it actually happens. Joe in Piscataway, what's up, Joe?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
What's happening?
Mike, what's not talked about is a lot about the running backs for New England. They had trouble putting the ball on the floor. Ridley, Vereen, many times. I would like to know, would a softer ball be held a little more tighter and tougher to punch out?
Maybe.
Because
yeah, probably.
That could be a big possibility.
But it doesn't matter. You don't need to get into what the advantages or disadvantages they are. The bottom line is you're not allowed to do it. That's all there is to it. Forget the ramifications. Forget what it meant to the score. Forget anything like that. The bottom line is what you are doing is you are undermining the league and undermining the jurisdiction of the league. And it plays in. The Pats are always in this mindset of edges, of trying, whether it's with the offensive linemen, whether it's with subterfuge, whether it's with more blatant stuff. They're just always looking for edges to the point where they get on the wrong side of the law. Steve in Indiana, what's up, Steve?
Hey, Mike. I got comments, a couple comments on this ball deal.
Okay.
First of all, they say, your question is, and some others are saying, well, what are they going to do with Belichick? Well, first of all, they already found him guilty of the Spygate thing. I think they ought to handle him just like they did Pete Rose. They ought to just ban him from football. Just wipe his slate clean. If they can do that to Pete Rose, and Rose didn't do anything to even change the game, he just bet on baseball. He didn't actually affect his team. Belichick is actually affecting the game by allowing these balls to be deflated. And if you think that Brady didn't know...
I never said that.
Well, I'm just saying this to the general public. Yeah. If you think Brady didn't know, you're all crazy.
No, he knew. Of course he knew.
Because Brady's
no,
involved
listen,
in
Brady
everything.
not only would know, Brady would have already practiced that he wanted to throw these balls, because otherwise why would you do it?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Brady had already preferred that he would like to, because here's a situation where Aaron Rodgers has stated, and it's funny, it came up last week, and Troy and I were talking about it, because Aaron Rodgers had made the point that he liked the balls overinflated, which other people can't throw, but he prefers. He would wish all the balls were completely overinflated because he likes throwing those. Well, other guys think they're slippery. He likes them. So he actually likes the overinflated ball, which most quarterbacks don't. Bobby in Staten Island. What's up, Bobby?
Hey, Mike. How are you?
What's happening?
I got two things. First, why should we believe that this is the only game that these balls
we shouldn't.
Played yet?
We shouldn't. Well, obviously, they didn't do it once. They did it more than once.
Exactly. And then my next question is, do you believe he should be suspended a year, just like Sean Payton was? I mean,
I don't know what to. I think he should be suspended. I don't know. I'm not sure yet how long. I have to think about it and give it a lot of thought as to what the fair. I think clearly, if this is true, he should be suspended. I think you could make a decent case that if this is true and he really did doctor 11 of the 12 balls, that you don't even let him participate in the Super Bowl. I don't know that they'll do that, though. But you could make that case. Plus, I think you have to make the Colts whole. So I think you have to give the Colts something. So I think you have to give the Colts a draft pick of some kind. Ed in Arizona. What's up, Ed?
How you doing, Mike?
What's happening?
I was just wondering something. I was wondering why teams get to bring their own balls, to a game when, they're playing the same game. Why didn't the NFL just take them? What's the point there?
Well, they try to be good to the teams that the balls are presented from the teams, and balls that the players, I guess, the quarterbacks have kind of rubbed up and stuff like that, where they're comfortable with these balls. So they want to help you throw the ball well if they can, but they have to then be approved that they're under NFL specification. So I gather that it goes from a standpoint of, you could just say, hey, here's the ball and that's it. You're right. They could do that. They could just say, we're going to open up a crate of balls, but they don't do that. They try to make it more accommodating for the quarterback, but they could just do that. They could just say, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to open up a crate of balls, and we're just going to take them out one by one and put them on the field. James in Indiana. What's up, James?
Hey, Mike. Thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
I appreciate you. You're always fair and balanced.
Let's try. What's up?
I let 2 pounds out of my son's Wilson NCAA basketball.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity to see if it made a difference. I couldn't palm it before, and after I let 2 pounds out, I can palm it like an NBA player.
Can you notice the difference to the eye, the 2 pounds?
No, I couldn't see a difference.
Okay.
But I can absolutely palm it.
But you could feel it. You could indent the ball more than you could beforehand.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I don't think that's 38 points difference. No, and I'm a Colts fan.
Listen. The Colts even said to be fair, and they could have beat us with a bar of soap. Okay, so we know that. Yeah. That is not the issue here. The issue is not the result on the field. The Colts were not on the same class as the Pats. That is not an issue. This is not about the game. This is not about results. This is not saying the Pats didn't deserve to be in the Super Bowl, that they weren't the best team. They were the best team by a mile. No one's saying that. The Colts did not belong on the same field with them. So that's not the issue here. It's not about games. This is about integrity. This has nothing to do with the game outcome. Jimmy in Connecticut. What's up, Jimmy?
Oh, hi, Mr. Francesa. How are you?
What's up, Jimmy?
I just want to first say that listening to you makes it difficult to listen to anybody else.
Well, I appreciate it. What's up?
Thank you. About the inflated balls, I hear everyone talking about how it affects the quarterback, but nobody's talking about, for example, the running back, how it makes it almost impossible for a running back to fumble a football.
Yeah, you might be right. And I hadn't thought of that. But, Jimmy, what you're saying is you can compress the ball from the outside in. So I think what you're saying is true. There's probably an advantage everywhere. And I do give the Colts credit for making the comments. They could have beat us with a bar of soap because they could have. Bill in Wallingford, what's up, Bill?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good, what's happening?
Hey, media day. Is that going to be a circus or what?
It will be. It will. Well, every day will be. From the minute he gets off the plane, they'll be waiting for him on Sunday night, or Monday night, whatever night he gets there. But Tuesday, there will be so many of the TMZ types there, so many of the people who were just there to get under his skin. That's the only reason they're there, is to get under his skin. He will deal with so much of that. Okay, there'll be people that come dressed as footballs. Okay, there'll be questions about, Bill, how much air is? I mean, just anything that can annoy him will be presented to him, and he's in an open forum where he can't deal with it. There's no way out. You can't escape. He can't give you the on to Cincinnati or on to Seattle. He can't no comment it. He can't just stand there. He's going to take an hour of it. And the NFL would try and get around it, but they won't be able to. There's no way to get around that. There's 3,000 approved credentials for that day. Maybe up to 5,000 now. I don't even know. It used to be 3, now it might be 5, for all I know. It's a circus. There's no way around that. And anything, usually something stupid becomes a big story. There's always some story somebody's chasing at the Super Bowl. This one, though, comes ready-made. They go there with it waiting to happen. So this one is ready-made. It will be a nightmare for them. Mike in Indiana, what's up, Mike?
Yeah, I was wondering about that football, the 12th one. That be the one they'd use for field goals or something?
No. Kicking ball separate, Mike. I guess there was one they didn't get to, or maybe they only, maybe they decided it was lucky to doctor 11. I can't answer that, but there was one they didn't doctor, I gather. I don't know. The other one's not a kicking ball. The kicking ball is a separate ball. There's a kicking ball. Mike in East Norwalk, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Mike, how are you? So the whole talk about Belichick's legacy, whether or not he needed to win a Super Bowl to, post Spygate to be considered the greatest of all time. His legacy now is cheating.
Yes. That he has completely, that's complete, I agree. He has finalized his legacy. His legacy is a great coach who would do anything. Joe, whoever said it was right. I mean, there's this Nixonian kind of presence to Belichick. He's got this kind of Nixonian character flaw. He really does. Where even when he's going to win, I mean, there's a perfect example. Nixon could not lose that re-election. He could not lose. But still, he had to fix it and spy and commit third-rate burglaries to ensure and employ dirty trick tactics to ensure that they down the other side. Even though he couldn't lose, they had no one to run against them. They had no way of beating him. But because earlier in his career, he had lost tight elections, especially the 60 election. Forget the 62 California race, but the 60 election, that, he thought he was going to win, that it was in his being that he had to make sure he ensured victory, which cost him the rest of his presidency for no reason. I mean, really, a third-rate burglary and a first-rate cover-up. Here's Joey. We'll start the contest at 3 o'clock as we go forward. Peter in Hampton. What's up, Peter?
Michael, Kraft.
Yes.
He owns other companies.
He owns a company, yes.
Yeah. But doesn't he own other companies besides the New England Patriots?
His wife, he ran his father-in-law's business and built it into a big business. That was his business. Now, really, pretty much the Pats are their business. That really is their business.
All right. Well, my question would have been, if he still owned another company and he had an executive lie and cheat, like Belichick is doing, I mean, this is his flagship company, how much longer do you think Kraft is going to allow this to go on before he has to really do something?
Well, I think that's a fair point. Also, ownership, I would think the league owners are going to react extremely negatively to the commissioner about this. Like, listen, we let him off the hook once. We're not going to keep letting this guy off the hook with this stuff. And someone's going to bring up what I said the other day. How come every allegation made in the league is made against the Pats? And you could say, oh, it's jealousy. It's not jealousy. They're made. Listen, everyone acknowledges what they've accomplished on the field, but they have been notorious for cutting corners and for, always trying to find diabolical ways of doing business. That's been their thing for a long time. And it's become kind of their their tricks on the field, their tricks of subterfuge, and then their gamesmanship, and then their dirty tricks. And, they don't distinguish the one from the other. John Hasbrook Heights, what's up, John?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
What's happening?
With football, it really stinks to high heaven. Let me tell you, if Roger Goodell had any guts at all, which he probably doesn't, he would make the Patriots forfeit that championship game. The Colts
well, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Listen, I would think you want the gutty move. The coach doesn't coach the game.
Yeah,
that's the gutty move. I mean, that would be a bold. That would be a bold move.
I understand that, but
you're not taking the team out of the game. No. Nor do I even think that would be fair. So I don't think is fair.
I understand, but let me tell you about Goodell. He's a gutless coward.
He's going to do what's good for his business. That's what he's going to do. He's going to do what the owners want him to do. You know that. I think if he's guilty of this, he should be suspended. The only question is, do you suspend him this year or you suspend him next year? I think he should be suspended for a period of time. If those 11 or 12 balls were doctored, he should be suspended. I don't think there's any question. The question is for how long and when. That becomes your issues. And that's open to debate. Joe in Staten Island, what's up, Joe?
Hi, Mike, this is Joe. Mike,
yes, Joe.
I just want to say something real quick about Bostic. In that play, Bostic was supposed to be running downfield and making the block.
No, he's not. He's not. He's not supposed to be doing that. Whoever tells you that doesn't know what they're talking about. He's not supposed to be running downfield.
Well, if you look at the tape, the other four big guys are like 3 yards
What position does Bostic play?
He's a tight end.
Why is he on there if he's a tight end? If his job is only to block, why don't they use a guard or a tackle?
Well, Mike.
Wait a second. Answer the question. Why is he out there?
All right. He got screened at.
Why is he out there?
He was out there to block.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not. And that's why he misled you when they talked after the game. He's out there to block if the ball is over his head. Then he is to block down. If the ball is kick to him, his job is to catch it. And as one coach said to me yesterday, never, ever tell an offensive player he can't catch the ball. It would be the worst thing you could ever tell a player. Never tell an offensive player he can't catch the ball.
I heard the interview, but what I'm saying is the other 3 or 4 big guys, they were 3 or 4 yards ahead of them blocking guys.
They're going on the direction of the ball. They're not going off. If the ball's kicked to them, they're going to catch it. Any guy is able to catch it.
On the snap, they immediately broke.
You know what? Look again. They're not going on the snap. I'm telling you right now. Anyway, and the bottom line is, if the ball's kicked to you, you catch it. That's your job.
All right, but you really didn't listen to what I said.
Yeah, well, what you said is, he was supposed to block. He wasn't supposed to touch the ball. It's wrong. It's not true. It's not true. I don't care how it was depicted to you. It's not true. His job is to catch the ball. If the ball is over his head, his job is to block. You don't back up for the ball, and you don't ever run away from the ball. If the ball's kicked to you, you catch it. That's your job. And don't ever confuse a guy on the line like that. If they told him to only block, they would be doing him a disservice because that's not his job out there. His job is to react to the ball. And if there's a ball that's up in the air, let Jordy Nelson take it. If the ball's kicked to him, he's got to catch it. Never tell an offensive player he can't catch the ball. The guy's a tight end. Keith in Cheshire. What's up, Keith?
How you doing? I just want to weigh in on the whole Belichick thing, and I want to give you my opinion on this, and just hear me out for a minute. If you were to suspend him from the Super Bowl, his schemes are already in place, his plans are already in place. I don't think, personally, that's going to hurt.
First of all, their game plan is not in place. Their game plan will not be in place till Sunday. That's not in place.
Well, the thing is, if you
game plan all this week, you game plan every day of this week, so that's not true. They're game planning as we speak.
True, but the thing about it is...
And listen, he's going to be involved, whether you suspend him for the game or not. He's going to be... Well, that's fine, but you know what? You take him off the sideline, and you've taken away the ability of him to make judgments.
But this is my thing. I think, personally, taking away the first-round pick is not going to hurt them. The team's already stacked. Taking them off the sideline is just for show. I think you take them out of the game.
You a Patriot fan?
You eliminate them from the game.
Are you a Patriot fan?
No, God, no.
Okay.
I'm not a Patriot fan. I'm not a Colts fan.
Okay.
I just think that it's tarnished.
Taking him off the field would impact the team. There's no way around it. He can't make any game decisions from he's not on the sideline.
But by having them in this game, it's tarnished. God only knows how many games they've already done.
Yeah, but they deserve. But you know what? Listen, you can't. Keith, there's no way to justify that kind of action. You can't take them out of the game. It's not fair to the players who didn't do anything wrong. That's not fair. That's not fair to anybody. Not everybody's guilty here. It's not fair. They earn that. Listen, I don't know what game they did something in or not. I can't answer that for you. I don't know. Okay? And maybe they did do something in every game. I have no idea. But I will tell you this. That there's no way they don't represent the league in this game. They do. The question is his presence in the game. And you could also let him coach this game and suspend him next year, but there's going to be complaints about that. And taking away draft picks, I mean, anyone who knows something about the sport knows if you take away draft picks, that hurts. There's no question. You give the Colts their number one pick, that hurts. There's no question. That's a shot. Mike in Hawthorne, what's up, Mike?
How's it going, Mike?
Good.
I think this actually is bad for Goodell, but it's almost a semi-blessing, not a whole blessing, but if he does get Belichick out of the Super Bowl, I really think that it does,
okay, so your point is, and it's not a bad one, your point is you're looking at this as an opportunity for Goodell.
A little bit.
Okay, I mean, you're right. If he takes bold, decisive action here, he will be lauded for that, and it'll be the first thing he was lauded for in a long time.
Correct.
But that's going to be hard for him to do because it's going to be hard for him to sit down his most prominent coach before the Super Bowl.
But the only thing I could think of him doing is that they already did for Spygate. They did $500 for Belichick, $250 for the Patriots, and a draft pick. Was he going to say, "Oh, okay, let's just double it. Let's just make it $1 million for That's like nothing.
Well, first of all, to me, the draft pick goes to the Colts. I think that's the first thing.
One or two.
I mean, whatever you decide, the pick goes to the Colts. They get the advantage. Joe in Queens, what's up, Joe?
Hey, Mike, how are you, buddy?
Good, what's up?
Hey, listen, I just want to say, not only the Colts holds out, the fans lost out. I happen to think what they should really do if the commissioner wants to be bold, I think the game should be replayed in a neutral site and to see who the real winner is.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm going to tell you honestly, Joe, if that happened tomorrow, the Colts will lose by about 30 points because they're just not as good. So, they just didn't belong in the game. That's all there is to it. So I won't even bother with that. The Colts, this isn't about the outcome of the game. We know the Colts weren't as good. They weren't. They're not as good as that team. That team is much better than they are. So I have no issue with that. I don't want to see the Colts play them again this year. They're not ready to play them. So I don't need to see that. But I think the bold initiative here is listen, this is all about one guy. He is the symbol here of all this that has gone on for a very long time. If you extract him from the game, that's a bold move. And I'm sure the Pats will be stomping up and down. And I mean, that's a bold, bold move. But that would, what the caller said before, from that standpoint, if you were going to make that kind of bold move, that would be something that I think would gain Goodell back a measure of respect in the league for him being bold and decisive, and rather than him sweeping this under the rug, which will be a nightmare for Goodell if he does it. Ralph in Manhattan, if he tries to tell us, well, we got this covered, or doesn't try to make this public, or tries to keep the public from knowing anything about happened here, or in some way says we'll handle it internally, the league's going to kill Goodell. The public's going to kill Goodell. Ralph in Manhattan, what's up, Ralph?
Very Nixonian, Mike. What started out very tame, very innocuous, has turned into a full-blown scandal.
Yes,
Mike.
it is.
I mean,
This is now a nightmare. This is now a nightmare.
And the conspiracy theorists going to have a field day. There are a segment of the population, Mike, and I don't agree, who think everything is rigged. So now they're going to have full ammunition to think that and even create more stupidity. And here's the deal,
when the game is and to further what you just said, when the game's integrity is in any way put on display or in any way put in a place where it is in a precarious position, that is when commissioners have to act in the boldest action available. And that's why what you would do if you're going to do that, today you tell him, pack up. You've worked with your team for the last time this year. You don't prepare them for the game. You don't coach them in the game, and then they will go forward without you. I mean, that would be the statement. If you have them as dead to right as it looks, that would be your statement.
How bold would it be on Goodell's part to really bite the bullet? And it would be something that would be really unprecedented ever. And I've never remembered anything would happen. If he took the finest coach in his league and said, no, you're suspended, you cannot go on the field
for this game.
Well,
not only that, take him away today. Take him away. Right. Don't let him game plan this week. Take him away from his team. He's not allowed in their headquarters. He's not allowed in their premises. He's gone. You are not allowed. If I find that you have contact with your team in any way, including telephone, email, if I find that you have contact with your team between now and when the game is played, I will suspend you for a year or 2 years or life, whatever. You are not preparing your team for this game. You are not preparing them this week. You are not preparing them on the sideline. You are not allowed to rejoin your team until this game's been played. And you are not allowed to discuss it with your team. You're not allowed to have contact with your team. You're not allowed to game plan your team. And if I catch you going around in any way trying to get around me to do it, I'll deal with that. So that would be a penalty that would be decisive. If they have him as dead to right as it looks, we'll see how they handle it. I'm surprised how many people have commented to me just in the last hour or so that they think he should be banned from the game. I mean, people that I respect their opinion who are saying the commission is, if he's got him, he's got to do this. I mean, that's a bold statement. I mean, that's a bold move on the commissioner's part. We'll see how this is handled. But if the commissioner tries to sweep this under the rug and say, we have this and we'll handle it inside, and doesn't make this public and doesn't let us think that this has been handled in any way fairly, it will be for him personally, I think, the final straw for Goodell. I think Goodell's got this on his plate, and he's got to deal with it right. If he doesn't, this might be his last swing, because I think the owners, some of them, are going to really be upset if this isn't handled right. Here's Joey. We'll play the contest for a trip for two to Super Bowl 49 in just a couple of minutes. Play that a little after 3 o'clock. Dale in Pennsylvania. What's up, Dale?
Hi, Mike. Yeah, thanks for taking the call.
Yeah, what's happening?
I was looking at the internet because I heard you mention that the balls were deflated by at least 2 pounds. That is a lot. And I guess my question is, do you know how the refs handle things? Do they take balls from both sides of the field?
The balls are the balls are presented to the referee before the game. He approves 12 balls for each side, for each team. 12 balls for the Pats, and he stamps them, and those are for the Pats. 12 balls for the Colts when they have the ball. And he stamps them. He approves them. He checks each ball. He says that this ball is fine. This ball is not scuffed. This ball is not damaged. It's not doctored. It's inflated. I stamp it. It's good. He gives each to the two sidelines. They are now in the care of the people who are handling the balls for the game. They are certified and stamped by the referee. They are the only balls that are to be used, and one does not mix with the other one. They each have their own specific bag of balls, so on each sideline. So that's it, and those are the balls that Luck will handle. Those are the balls that Brady will handle. 11 of the 12 balls on the Brady side were at least 2 pounds underinflated, which means after he approved them, and he said he approved and checked every ball, which a referee will do, especially at any game, but that's his job. Walt Anderson said he did it, and he checked every ball, and every ball was precise. They got to the balls, either switched the balls or doctored the balls after the balls, and the balls were approved 2 hours before the game by the official, starting with 2 minutes and 15 minutes on the clock up until 2 hours. That's when he did it. And that's when they were approved. And after that, somebody either got to the balls and doctored them or changed the balls on for the Patriots.
And I understand that. That's a great explanation. Thanks. And my question, I guess, goes even further. They got wind that their balls on the Patriots side could be under.
No, what happened was the ball was intercepted right before the half by the Colt defender, Jackson. Jackson came to the sideline. He gave the ball to the equipment man. He wanted the ball cataloged and kept as a souvenir. He gave the ball to the equipment man, okay? The equipment man noticed the ball was deflated. He said, wait a second, this ball's not right. He went to Pagano. He showed it to Pagano. Pagano said, man, this ball's not right. He alerted Gregson upstairs and the official that the ball was not right. That's when the whole thing changed.
Is there something in the rules that say, well, if you're going to grab balls from one side, you got to grab them from the other?
The balls come out of the 12 that the referee had put aside for you for that game.
Okay.
Those are the only balls that can be used in the game, are the balls that he approved and stamped. They doctored the balls that had been branded by him.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is I wonder if, just to be fair, to Chuck Pagano said, hey, check these balls. Do they also say, well, look, we're going to check the Patriots balls. We go across the way and check the Colts balls, and I wonder.
Yes, there were but you are saying then that the Colt balls, I'm told, were checked, and there were no problem with them. But you are saying then that the man didn't check the balls before the game. He did. He did check them, and he said the balls were perfectly fine when he checked them.
Afterwards,
no, he says he checked them when he checked them before the game started, when he gave them to the sideline. That's when he checked them. Now, there have been reports that they checked them again at halftime. I don't know. The Pats spokesman said that they have been in complete cooperation with the league. That's it. That's all they said. We have been in complete cooperation with the league, and they've referred everybody to the league office. The league office has said that they will have a statement within the next couple of days. That's it. Ongoing investigation. Jack and Edison, what's up, Jack?
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
What's happening?
No, I just want to say, I think for Roger Goodell's sake, he should just throw the book at Belichick, and that'll completely redeem him for the.
That will help him. You see, right now, him getting Belichick will help him with the public. I agree with you. I agree that is true, and it's something I'm sure that will play into Goodell. Because if Goodell goes soft on Belichick or tries to brush this under the rug, he will get destroyed. So I agree. If he goes after Belichick hard on this, that will help him. John in North Babylon. What's up, John?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good.
I got to tell you, if he gets suspended for the Super Bowl, I got to tell you, it's really got to push Kraft to almost get rid of him, because what a black eye.
Somebody would hire him, though, in a second, though. You know that?
Yeah, they probably would. I mean, the way the NFL works. But
somebody would hire
Kraft,
him. You know that.
Yeah, if I'm Kraft, I can't. And that's a black eye.
Well, listen, you'd have to listen. You would have, if you're Kraft and they suspend him, you're going to have to say, I talked to my coach. He was apologetic, which I can't even I'm amazed that you would ever hear anybody say that he apologized, because could you see Belichick ever apologizing?
No, absolutely not.
None of us can. So the point is, I can't see that, number one. Number two, you would have to think that Kraft would say, listen, I've talked to my coach and I've told him that next time will be the last time, kind of thing. I would guess. I'm sure he doesn't want to get rid of him. Why would you want to get rid of a guy like Belichick? He's a great coach. None of us quibble with him being a great coach. But he's got a serious character flaw where he either can't differentiate between what's right and wrong, or he doesn't care. Carl in Saratoga. What's up, Carl?
Yeah, Mike. I call you a couple of times a year from Saratoga.
Yeah, what's up?
I'm listening to this, and I'm not saying to myself, they won the game outright. They would have won even if it was a snowball.
No question.
All right. My point is, what if, hypothetically, this happened in Super Bowl Sunday? Say, for instance, the score is 28-27, they win. What happens then?
Oh, my God. You cannot, if you are, remember something. We're not saying it happened on Super Sunday. We're saying it happened, though, on AFC Championship Sunday in front of the world, in front of a massive audience. Right. This is an AFC title game. This isn't some preseason game. This is So, yes, if it happened on Super Sunday, and you just painted the thing, the biggest reason this is not a nightmare, the biggest reason is the game wasn't competitive. If the game had been competitive, there would be huge cries that the Colts should be given the game.
Exactly.
Right. Now, we can't go there because the game was...
The repercussions of a Super Bowl game, where there's
incredible.
No more games left.
It would be devastating to the league. Incredibly... It would destroy the credibility of the league. And let's be honest... The Pats went a long way to destroying the credibility of the league here. This is an enormous scandal. It's an enormous scandal. It makes people wonder about the integrity and the way the sport is adjudicated, and the way it's officiated, and that is things on the level, and does one team get an advantage, and what about the way it is, and why should I think the calls are honest, and why should I think this, and why should I think that? And when you... in any way, and that's plays to Pete Rose. Why do they take such a hard line on Pete Rose? Because when you bring into question the integrity of a sport and create any illusion or even a seed of doubt that a sport is not 100% on the level, that there has not been complete integrity and complete honesty in the playing of the contest, that plays to the lifeblood of a sport. A sport ceases to exist if the game is not honest. And that's why they have to be extremely vigilant in going after them if they did this. Because the world is watching. This was an AFC title game. You had the nerve to cheat an AFC title game. I mean, the league can't stand for that. That's why you heard words like the NFL is distraught over this. This smacks to their integrity. They have to take a firm stand in this. They have to. If this is accurate, the only way they don't is if there's some inaccuracy here and we find out there was some mistake made. But how there is a mistake with all the reporting that's going on right now, I don't think we're going to get that. And I don't think we're going to get a cover-up because Goodell couldn't withstand it. Jeff in Marlboro, what's up, Jeff?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
What's up?
Mike, I heard on radio today from a current NFL referee. He has knowledge of what happened, and it's a slam dunk. Basically what happens is that both teams bring in a bunch of balls into
No, we already know. Okay. I've been through that. We've been going through that 10 times. We don't need to go through that. I can't believe an current NFL referee was on the air talking about this. What was his name?
No, he was. I'm telling you.
What was his name?
I wish I knew his name.
I'm guessing.
You could go on the other radio station and hear it. It's on.
Let me just tell you something. I'm guessing this was a former referee, not a current one, because I don't think a current one would be allowed to talk.
Well, whatever. He had knowledge.
Right. Yeah, I think you're talking about a former referee.
Okay. He had knowledge of what happened.
Right.
And basically, at halftime, like you said, they took both.
We know that, but what else did he say?
He said what happened was that all balls including the 12th one, was also deflated, but not as much. So they all were. Okay,
well, that answer, I had not heard that. I had not heard anything about the 12th ball. But that really doesn't matter. Okay? The question now is, do they have them for deflating the 12 balls? Do they know how they did it? Do they know what they did? Did they take the 12 balls and deflate them? I got to figure that's what they did. They didn't change all 12 balls and have no marks on the balls. That would be crazy. They had to take the balls and deflate them, which means the kid, whoever was the guy, whoever was handling the ball, probably gave them up. Because somebody who was in charge of the balls had to give them up. Otherwise, how would they know they were all deflated? So, bottom line is, there is a bad scandal here. Now, how does the league deal with it? And let's be honest, this is now in a title game. This is a nightmare for the NFL, and one the NFL has to work swiftly on. And I think time is of the essence, because as we speak, Bill Belichick is preparing his team for the game. 3 o'clock, here's Joey.
Stick around. More from the Mike Francesa Show after the break.
At 20 after. So we're just getting prepared now. So we'll finish up with the calls we have here. Then we will start the contest. We have 4 trips to give away. We will start the contest at 3:20. It's about 12 minutes from now. We will begin the contest. All right. Louis in San Diego. What's up, Louis?
Okay, hey, how you doing?
Good.
Listen, big Colts fan here, and the guy who called you a little while ago, that was the ex-retired referee, Jerry Austin.
Yeah, I knew. That's why I figured it was Jerry. I didn't want to argue with him, but I knew it wasn't a current guy. Okay.
He said on the radio that he had talked to Walt Anderson.
Yeah, who was the referee, yes.
Yes, and then he got complaints from Pagano and the Colts at halftime.
Correct.
Balls.
Which is what we thought was the answer, yes.
Yeah, and then Anderson, I guess, checked the balls, and they were fine as far as he was concerned. But my question is, this is a double issue here.
No. What you just said is not what I'm hearing is true. He checked the balls, and they weren't fine, is what I'm hearing.
At halftime?
Yes.
And they didn't change the balls?
No, I think they did.
Well, see, no, the problem is Jerry Austin said that... Well, Anderson told him, see, this is my problem.
See, I don't know yet. I'm getting differing reports here of whether they changed the... Well, wait a second. Just because we don't know doesn't matter. The question is, the only thing we don't know yet is, did they change the balls at halftime or did they not?
Okay, but here's the problem. Aaron Rodgers came on his radio sports station, and he said he never liked the way...
That has nothing to do with this. Zero. There's nothing to do... That's just his preference. That has nothing to do with this.
But Rodgers said the referees take the air out of the balls at halftime.
They specify a certain... Listen, the bottom line is he had the balls to specification. They didn't use the ball. They deflated them, okay? You're misleading the whole thing with the Aaron Rodgers thing. Leave the Aaron Rodgers thing alone. The bottom line is they detected 11 of the 12 balls being deflated. How'd they get deflated? That's the question. Chris in Denver. What's up, Chris?
Yeah, Mike, how you doing?
Yes. What's up?
Okay.
What Jerry Austin said was he'd be shocked if the balls had been given to them deflated. They didn't. Walt Anderson said he checked all the balls, and they were correct, and they were to the right specifications at 2 hours before the game. So the balls were doctored after that. And now we're getting reports, complete reports, saying that 11 of the 12 balls were doctored, were deflated. So we know the balls were deflated. We're being told they were deflated. Go ahead. What's on your mind? I guess nothing. Phil in California. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah.
Yes, Phil.
I was wondering why everybody's blaming Belichick when it's Brady's doing.
What do you mean Brady's doing?
Involved the way he wants. He gets involved the way he wants it. He's in charge of that.
No. Somebody got to the. Somebody got to the. You're wrong. All right, you're wrong. The balls are put in a bag by the referee at 2 hours before the game. Nobody's supposed to touch them again. That's it. They're off limits. They're off limits.
For 8 different teams, 8 different.
They're off limits at that point. The balls have been presented to the referee. Once he approves the 12 balls, he brands them. Then those are the only balls that can be used. So anything else about using different balls is nonsense. It's not true. PJ in South Haven, what's up, PJ? Everyone's got to see what happens is everyone weighs in and add something different to the story that has nothing to do with the story. Okay, Trent Dilfer said this, and this guy said this, and Aaron Rodgers said this. Has nothing to do with what went on here. What went on here was the referee approved the balls, and then the balls that were detected during the game were deflated. Somebody deflated them. Go ahead, PJ, what's up? PJ going once? All right, we'll try Tim. I don't know what's wrong with the phones all of a sudden. Tim in Newport, what's up, Tim?
Yeah, this is my question is, no one's talking about, they're only talking about this game specifically.
Well, we don't know anything else.
Well, I understand that, but
so why would we talk about something we don't have any evidence about?
Well, I mean, it just seems logical.
It doesn't matter. Well, if you can't prove it, why bother talking about it? What difference? You're going to say, oh, I think the Pats did this in week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6. We don't know that, so we can't prove it.
Well, I understand that, but do you think it's
I can't.
probable?
Why bother? But why bother with it? It's inconsequential.
Well, yeah, but why bother with it? I mean, he's got a history.
It's inconsequential, though, Tim. You can't prove it. If I can't prove it, why would I bother saying I think he did it in week 5? What if someone says, no, he didn't? What do I do then?
Well, okay, fair enough.
Okay, so why waste your energy on it? My point is, you can't prove it. We're talking about the game you can prove. Terrence joins us. What's up, Terrence?
Hey, Mike. How you doing, buddy?
What's happening?
With the balls, why the score? He was going to win no matter what. The
doesn't make any difference. They did this before the game started.
Okay, but if Belichick has this, has to win all mentality.
They cheated before the game started.
Why though? Maybe they were going to blow it. You yourself said
Terrence. That's you want to answer that question? Go answer it with Bill Belichick. Why? They did it before the game started. That's when they switched the balls or deflated the balls. Brian in Spring Lake, what's up, Brian?
Hey, Mike. I think you got the right 2 questions. Who did it and who ordered it? Wouldn't you think Tom Brady's an accomplice in this?
No, I would think that nothing is done this way ever without the coaches say so. Nothing. That would be my history and my understanding of watching teams operate. Nothing is done on a sideline. This is a sideline situation. Nothing is done on a sideline without the coaches say so.
But you'd have to think he knew about it. I mean,
I didn't say Brady did. I didn't say Brady didn't know about it. I didn't say Brady wasn't happy it happened. I can't answer those questions. What I said is nothing happens on the sideline that the coach doesn't have complete power over.
You think he could jump on this landmine for Belichick, and then you'd have a real face?
Do I think he could jump on it and say, I did it?
Or maybe
I did it and Belichick didn't know about it? That's what you want Brady to say?
Yes. Yeah, and then
why would he do that?
Well, we're going to see what his relationship really...
Well, why would he do that, though?
Well, because I think he's in on it anyway, and I'm thinking maybe I'm going to save Belichick, and then we'll see what Goodell's made of, what stones he's got.
Listen, you're creating a weird scenario that I can't... Why would Brady do that? Mike in Newark, what's up, Mike?
Had a great show. I really like listening at this time of the year.
Thank you. What's up?
Yeah, is it possible that this whole scandal was contrived by the NFL to draw more attention to the game right before the Super Bowl? I mean,
no chance.
Think about it.
No, so wait a second. You got the Colts to get involved in it in the second quarter? I mean, now listen. I know people have too much time on their hands, but, that's what happens with these things. After a little while, we get people who start to add in the bizarre thoughts that come into their mind. The NFL did this for attention. Really? Do you think this is nice? Do you think this is positive attention for the NFL? You think they're happy about this, that their game's called into question of whether they're on the level, of whether people are cheating in their games? I mean, yeah, that's exactly what they want. Joe in Brookfield. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Mike. There's such outrage over this whole situation, but can you imagine what it would be like if this was actually a close game?
If it was a close game, there wouldn't be an outrage. There'd be people calling for the game to be replayed.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be that's the only blessing. The only blessing that the NFL has here is nobody is disputing the game was a romp and that the team that had a win won. Nobody is disputing that. But without that, you would have an utter nightmare. If this game were a 3 or 4 point game, my God, it would be insanity. Jimmy in Freeport, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, how you doing, Mike?
Good.
I just want to talk about this with Bill Belichick. This guy gets caught all the time cheating. When is the NFL going to suspend this guy? They suspended Short Payton. All right, they got that right. But they're going to let this guy walk into the Super Bowl knowing that he cheated and let him coach this game? I think that's
Jimmy,
totally unfair of the NFL doing that.
Jimmy, you just had the voice that you just the statement you just made is the one that I guarantee you has been reverberating around the NFL offices all day. And that is, how do we not deal with this? How can we possibly not confront this? And I guarantee you there's owners that are calling up the commissioner and saying, he goes right now. He sits right now. And I'm sure there are people saying, we can't do that to the Super Bowl. And I think right now they're probably... Now, I'm going on the premise that this stuff we've heard is accurate. If there's a reason to believe it's not accurate, then they quickly need to get that information out. If that's not the case, and we have seen nothing that would indicate that, then the question now becomes penalty. And if it's a question of penalty, the league... I mean, I'm sure there's some really wild conversations going on right now inside that league. I'm sure there is about how to handle this. And... I mean, listen, it's not a good situation for them to have to suspend the most prominent coach in the sport before the Super Bowl. I mean, that's not what they're looking for. Nor do they want this Super Bowl tainted, but I guarantee you there's owners saying, hey, this cannot go forward. So we're going to see. And I think, for the NFL, the sooner the better. If they have all their ducks in a row and they've collected all their information, the sooner the better. That's how I would think this. The sooner they deal with this, the better, because it's just going to get bigger and bigger each day leading up to the Super Bowl. Because you are sending this. This is now riding the crest of Super Bowl promotion, which gets bigger each day, building up from here to the Super Bowl. It gets bigger every day. So this is just starting to ride that wave and get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it will get bigger every day. When we come back from doing the update, contest time. So get aboard right now. Here's Joey. A lot over the next 2 days. Tom in Shoreham. What's up, Tom?
Mike, two quick questions.
Yes.
Number one, in this day and age, with all the cameras we have and everything, especially for a conference game, how come we didn't have a camera on the balls once the ref stamped it?
What do you mean? When the refs always stamp the ball? The ref puts a brand on the ball, but why would we cover the game any differently than any other game?
No, I'm not saying cover the game. I'm saying 2 hours before the game, the ref stamps the balls that the balls are good. They put them in the bag and they wait for the game to start.
Right.
Why not have a camera on the bag? Of the balls?
Why would you ever think somebody's going to change the balls?
Well, I have a feeling going forward they're going to do something like that.
Well, I would be sure that's not. I'll tell you why I don't think so. Because when they're finished with him, he's going to wish he never did that to the balls.
I understand. And, Mike, real quick, a friend of mine is out in Las Vegas, and he told me that the prop bets, you read anything into Sherman being 25-1 to be the Super Bowl MVP, and Revis is 80-1?
I actually saw that, and I said to somebody, it's funny you bring that up. I said to somebody the other day who was going to Vegas, they said to me, who should I bet at the MVP? So I looked at the list and said, at these odds, I would take Revis. I think he could win it at 80-1. And it's funny you say that. And I think their feeling is, now I'm surprised Sherman has that much, because I think the feeling is that, Wilson doesn't throw enough and won't go near Revis. Because he's not Tom Brady. He's not that. He's more of a runner than a thrower. And that I think the feeling is that they just won't throw the ball near Revis. That they don't throw it enough that they'll stay away from Revis. Well, Brady could throw the ball around, and Rich Sherman could be more in play because Brady throws the ball a lot more than Wilson does. I think that's the reason. But I thought there was value in Revis. It's funny you say that. Alan Paramus, what's up, Al?
Mike, I'm a Patriot fan.
Sure.
I've always called you up, defended Belichick on your show. And instead of calling about the great win against the Colts and all the great storylines that would have been attached, which to me are gone right now, it's about Belichick cheating, which is a disappointment. And, I heard Brady laugh at the question Monday morning because I listened to all his shows. And I agree, if Belichick cheated, he should be punished. And if they suspended him for the Super Bowl, it may not be a bad idea because I don't see how they let him show up at the Super Bowl and it would be a circus. And like
well, that's why they see it will be, having done this for listen, I've been to over 30 Super Bowls. It will be a zoo when he appears, an absolute zoo. I can remember years when there was any hint of scandal. The year Bill was going to leave the Pats, oh my God, it was a circus. The year that Hollywood Henderson, the year with Elway one year. I mean, there was different things going on at different times. I'm trying to remember all of them, but they turned into complete circuses, and now it's bigger than ever because it's not just regular media, it's every kind of media. It's TMZ and it's this one and it's that one, and they are not going to let this rest. If he's there, they will haunt him. They will absolutely haunt him during this week.
Mike, I've asked people who don't even watch sports, have they heard about it? Everyone has heard about it.
Absolutely.
What is your gut feeling of what you think will happen?
Well, I would say that if what we're hearing is true, that there's a distinct chance there will be severe, meaning suspensions, repercussions. If everything we know is true, let's just say on the premise they changed 11, they doctored 11 out of 12 balls and they caught him red-handed. I think there will be severe penalties before the Super Bowl. And I think they want the Super Bowl to be easy. I don't think they'll do anything to the team on the Super Bowl. I think they will either do it to the coach or they will do it to the team after the Super Bowl, which I think is going. The problem with that is I think people are going to be upset if they don't take immediate action before this next game, because the idea, don't let them gain. See, I think the feeling is if they postpone penalty till next year, that they won, that they somehow put over on everybody because they won their championship. I think they want them to have an obstacle to win their championship, and that's why I believe the most likely obstacle is you coach this game you win this game without your coach, and that would be the likely obstacle for them to win the game.
You know, as a Pats fan, I would totally.
And then if they win it, so they win it. I mean, but they win it. But they might. But what I would think, if they're going to do that now, if that's going to happen, Al, do it today and take him away from the team before he finishes game planning, and take him away from preparing the team. Don't let him prepare the team all week and then just send the team ahead. Make him get away from the team now and not have any contact with the team for the rest of the next 2 weeks. Mike, make it a real penalty.
One other question. Do you think they had a heads up before this game that...
I don't know that. I've heard that, but you know what? I never heard one word of that coming out of Indianapolis, and usually I read all the stuff that comes out. I think we would have heard, I think we would have heard something if there was any hint of that. I think now it's, again, after the fact, the Colts were complaining about that. I'm not saying the Colts didn't bring it up to the league. Maybe they did, but I don't think it got out publicly that the Colts were complaining about the balls last time they played. I never heard one word of it. I never heard one word of it leading up to the game this week. So I don't know that was the case. But I'll tell you, the blessing for the NFL, if there is a blessing, and there aren't many, is that the game wasn't close. Because if the game were close, if it had been a 3-point game, there would have been cries that they send the Colts to the game. And, that would have been a circus. That would have ruined the whole season for everybody. Because you don't want to send the team that didn't win to the Super Bowl. And you don't, so thankfully, you can't, no matter what your take is on this, no matter how severe your take is against the Pats, they still were the better team by a mile. And the Colts even said that, which they wouldn't have been saying if it was a tight game. They would have been going crazy. So to me, because of all the things, the ball's easy to throw. It was a wet day. Running backs don't fumble it because it's deflated. So all the things that could have helped them. If it had been a close game, there would have been cries to send the other team. It's not going to happen now because of the one-sided nature of the game. No one's disputing that the game, was completely one-sided and the better team won. But I would think the league is in a position where they're going to have to, unless we find out they can disprove that this happened, and nothing is indicating that that's the case, they're going to have to do something here. So I don't think there's anybody going to be defending Belichick if this turns out to be true. 440, here's Joey.
the audio with Brady back in 2011. Did you hear it about Gronkowski spiking the ball and how Brady says some of the air comes out of the ball and he likes it like that anyway?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's 2011, though. I'm not paying much attention to that, to be honest with you.
Isn't it possible that they could have been doing it for years?
Well, maybe. I mean, I cannot get into how often they've done this, and to me, that's really irrelevant now. What's in front of them now is the Pats thought so little of the rules that they would do this and treat the league this way before a championship game, and a game they didn't even need to do it to. I mean, it's almost cheating for cheating's sake. Ira in Staten Island, what's up, Ira?
Hey, Mike, what's happening?
What's up?
Two things with this Pat thing and the deflation of the balls. It's amazing. I agree with every point you're bringing up. If it was a field goal game and they had beat the Colts by 3 points, who knows what would have happened. And, of course, I just want to get your impressions and give you mine real quick on the Bowles McCagan.
Well, they're going to be on the show tomorrow, so that's why I was going to wait, because they're going to come by and chat with me tomorrow, both of them. So that's the plan. But again, I mean, they're both very reserved types. They're not going to win press conferences. It's kind of not their thing. You can tell that. I don't think anybody wowed anybody today. I didn't expect them to. It's just, for the Jet fan, he's going to get used to the fact that he doesn't have, this oversized personality at the podium. That's not their thing now. They're not going to win the press conferences like Rex did.
No, it was actually kind of refreshing. And get back to the Pat thing. I agree with you. I think the league is going to have to come down right now. And whatever they do, they're going to have to do it before the Super Bowl week starts. Because, like you said, it'll be an absolute circus there.
Well, listen, it's going to be hard to send, no matter what, unless the league bans Belichick from the game. His week is going to be miserable. They are going. I mean, if he's there and he's been eligible, no matter what they did to him, whether they penalize them, announce there's going to be a severe penalty, take away a draft pick, fine them, whatever. If he's available, if he's there, and the league's got to be contemplating this, and this is not good for Belichick, I would think in the analysis, they know what a circus it is going to be when he's there. It's going to be, that place is a circus anyway. Now you have created a scandal for the media that is looking for something to write about and to talk about and to do stand-ups for. And now you gave them something to zero in on. And now, oh my God, it's going to be unbelievable for him if he's there. It's going to be overwhelming. That's how. And he's a bright man, but he's not great on his feet in these situations. And this will test him unbelievably if he's there.
Well, the simplest thing might be to remove him from the game.
That's why I think the factor that helps, I think the thing that mitigates against them is the idea that it will be very hard for him to deal with the media there. And remember, the head coach, when the plane lands, he does a press conference. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, he does press conferences, and Tuesday and Friday are major. Tuesday is media day. Friday is just the coaches and the commissioner in the theater. So any way you slice it, he is front and center almost all week, and he is at arm's length, and he's there for a very long time, and you can have at him, and you cannot no comment, for 2 hours. It doesn't work.
No, and once again, I go back to, you eliminate the problem, and I think to remove him from the Super Bowl probably would be the best thing for the league all around.
And it's bold. It is bold. And plus, you know what it does? If the Pats then win the Super Bowl, nobody thinks they did anything they shouldn't have done. Like, they think they overcame an obstacle to win it. And so be it. I mean, that's the way. If they and because nobody wants them to have an easy, and it wouldn't be easy the game. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is, if they win it, everyone's going to think it was tainted anyway. I mean, because now, and again, it was a gift that for the league that it was a one-sided game, because it took away the aspect of they cost them a game, which would have been front and center had it happened like this way. But they're constant playing with the rules fast and loose is just crazy. It really is. Mike in Highlands, New Jersey. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
What's happening?
I was just wondering what your opinion on where the decision to deflate the balls came from, whether it was Brady to Belichick or Belichick to Brady.
I can't answer that. I have no idea. I really... Now, listen, I would say this. You don't do that unless your quarterback wants that done. I mean, he not that he's commanding it, but that he's already shown you that there is an advantage to doing it. They clearly know there is an advantage to doing it. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. So if you're asking me which one, is the guy who said, "Hey, let's do this," I don't know how to answer that. Mike in Floral Park, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Mike, here we go again. There's no bigger core force nut fan than me between baseball, football, hockey, and
this is an NFL thing. This is not any other sport thing. It's an NFL thing.
This is garbage what they're doing to Belichick. I think every freaking team does this with the balls.
No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't. No, Mike, you don't know what you're talking about. To think that anybody does this after the referee puts the balls and stamps them, that anybody doctors the balls is wrong. They don't.
Who said they doctored the balls?
What do you think? How did the balls get that way?
Mike, how come Peyton Manning has the balls the way he wants them?
No. Mike, see, you again, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
Who has proof that Belichick?
Well, how do you think the balls got deflated?
How does any ball get deflated? I don't know.
Mike, your questions are mindless. I mean, what are you talking about? You have no idea what you're talking about. Every quarterback doesn't get the balls the way they want them. They get to give in balls that are that they have taken the shine off, or they're not slippery, but they present them, but they're not presented until it's not official ball, until the referee checks the ball and says that it is certified to be used in the game. He's the last play on that. He gets to decide what 12 balls are used. He decides that, no one else. So it's not like you get to put your own balls in play. It's not true. Rick in Queens, what's up, Rick?
Hey, Mike, thanks for taking my call.
Yes.
Two questions. One, would you think that giving up the first and second round draft picks to the Colts plus an 8-game suspension for next year would be fair? And does this affect Brady's legacy at all?
I think it affects all their legacy, number one, because this is not their first go-round. So I think it does affect all their legacy, number one. Number two, I think everybody's damned by the same brush. I think that no matter how harsh the penalty, if it does not take the next game into account, there will be an outcry from a fairly strong portion of the fan base and a lot of the media that it should have been something that took the Super Bowl into account. Because
if it should be the Super Bowl,
the idea being why allow them a shot at winning? I think the feeling's going to be, and this would be my feeling too, that whatever they should be penalized for should try to penalize them and hamper them from winning this championship, because this is the championship that they are questing for, that they flaunted the rules. So there should be an obstacle they have to overcome to win this championship. So whatever you could do to make this championship quest harder for them. Yes, I understand you don't want to upset the balance of the Super Bowl, but the only way to do that, you're not going to take players out of the game. I think that would make the game.
The Vegas line would go absolutely ballistic.
It's not the line. It's just, you don't worry about the line. You worry about the competitiveness of the game. You don't want to take Tom Brady out of the game or something like that, nor do I know that he should be taken out of the game. So that's not the point. The point is the logical way to hamper them but allow the game to go forward and to eliminate the problem would be to sit Belichick, because then you don't have the problem at the game. And you have clearly hampered the ability of the Pats to win the game. And I think that's probably what America would want. Something that would be immediate. And something that fits the crime when they tell us exactly what the crime is and how extensive it is. So, but I don't think, we'll get you next year. That's after they crown him and the confetti comes down. And you see, the problem right now is the confetti coming down and Belichick going through next week are hard to envision. That's the NFL's problem right now. Doug in Connecticut. What's up, Doug?
Hey, Mike, I think the perfect solution, or if I was the commissioner, I'd be texting the Seahawks and Pete Carroll and saying, guys, I don't want to play against Belichick next week. I don't want him coaching against me because I can't trust him. I can see Goodell getting out of that thing smooth as could be.
I don't think I think Pete and the Seahawks will stay very quiet in this. I think right now the thing that is, I'm sure owners are saying, hey, We've been down this road too many times with this franchise, number one. We're supposed to be on equal terms here, and we're not. Number two is, how do you have Belichick front and center here? He will be a lightning rod for so much negative attention next week that it will turn. That week is there to promote the NFL, promote the game, and it can also work against you when there is a story that they can latch onto that is negative for the league. Goodell has gone through nothing but negativity all year. He's tried to do everything he can to get the league from dealing with negativity as they get to the Super Bowl and get this, what has been a very negative year, over with, and now he's got it again. So that's why. Now, if you can say, well, I'm going to cast Belichick as the villain, what better way to send him to this game than as a villain? That's fine. But you see what he's going to have to deal with next week at press conferences. They're not going to be easy. There's going to be a tremendous amount of the same question after question after question, and it's not going to go away. It's not going to be it's not going to be how you're going to handle the running game. That's not what he's going to hear. You're going to hear questions about anything that they could have possibly ever been accused of. Tom in New Jersey, what's up, Tom?
Hey, Mike, big fan. How you doing?
Thank you. What's happening?
So I'm just curious, and I know this is speculation, but if you had to guess or take an educated guess at this point, what's the harshest punishment that would come down on these guys if they're found guilty of what we're talking about?
First round pick, and maybe possible suspension. First round pick is a tremendous hit on a franchise.
Right. You don't think that they could take him out of the bowl?
I think they could take him out, the coach, yes. I think they could take him out. They won't take anybody else out, but they could take him out. I could see they sit him, which would be,